Hello traders, this is Rich from tradesight. This is a look at our market leading stocks via our proprietary scans for Monday, April 28th, 2014. As you can see here in the Nasdaq patch, we've got quite a few symbols that are showing signals, but we don't have real crushing bias here. The one thing that you do want to pay attention to, though, is we do have a fair amount of CPS signals. And note that they're all on the sell side here. On the buy side here, the column is empty. So that does give us a little bit of a push to the downside, but not really a terrific bias to really kind of hang your hat on. We do have a number of volume bumps here. A lot of, as we've been talking about all week, a lot of those are associated with earnings. But also note the deviations here. Amazon's got a big deviation to the downside in addition to the volume bump. Altera, it's almost 7% below the day's open, 1% below the day's VWAP. It's just getting crushed today, and we'll be leaving a very bearish candle on the chart. Wynn Resorts, similar condition. Netflix is just getting destroyed today, and Sina's really weak. Note that Sina and Netflix both have downside CPS signals. Moving on to the financials, kind of the same look here. A couple on the buy side, but the downside signals are most of the CPS variety. Visa and MasterCard are both fairly weak today. A lot of volume, a lot of that's news driven. And those could be interesting for next week as well. Not really seeing too many deviations here, though we are universally weak across most of the sector. Moving on to the energy names, a lot of volume today in BTU, that once again strong. 1% above the day's open. BP and Valero both have contra candles to the downside, while Schlumberger has a buy contra candle. No CPS signals on either side here in the energy sector. Moving on to the market generals, again fairly well paired off here. Not a lot of volume in most of these names. In fact, we're kind of down on volume. Dow Chemical has a downside CPS. 3M is kind of fighting itself right now, trying to resolve that. VMware is having a very weak day, but doesn't have a signal coming with it, unfortunately. But it is almost 3% below the day's open. Moving on to the housing names, not a lot of signals here, as you can see. Hovnanian is pretty weak, and so is DHI, and DHI is weak on volume. So, even though we don't have a signal, keep an eye on that. Transports today are really weak. This is one of the sectors that you really want to see kind of pick up the pieces, and I think it's been doing a pretty good job of that, getting the rotation of money into the transport group as it comes out of the higher beta names. But today is just kind of weak across the board. A lot of downside CPS conditions here for this group. Finally, moving on to the commodities. Not really where the action is really today. Volume again in Newmont. Newmont's pretty strong. The Mosaic is strong too. That's an agricultural name. AA pretty weak today, but that one doesn't have a signal. Newmont's really the only one that might qualify for a volume bump. So, on balance, unfortunately, not a lot of signals, but definitely a couple things that we can work with for next week. All right, folks. As always, thanks for listening. This has been Rich for tradesight.